Hi, Eric Linask here at ITEXPO in Miami. Xavier, thanks for being on the program. Thanks for joining me. Good to have you.
Thank you.
So, you were telling me that one of the things that you really wanted to focus on, Skkynet is focusing on, is the industrial Internet of Things. First, let's maybe define industrial IoT.
Well, industrial IoT is as simple as one sensor at one remote location to as much as an entire plant connecting two plants together. That's what we would call the industrial Internet of Things, is getting things to talk so that they can talk to their SCADA systems, talk to their big data, talk to their enterprise information systems.
We hear a lot of talk, obviously a lot of conversation about why, and the benefits, and sort of the great things that you can do
right.
with all this connectivity and all the applications that are being developed and all the data analytics and so on and so forth. But as with any great connectivity enhancements or innovations, you've always got to have a conversation about security.
Right.
Certainly you have to believe that inherently security is not an inherent part of a lot of these applications.
I firmly believe. One of the challenges with all connected devices, connected Internet of Things devices, is that security is always brought in as an afterthought. It's not designed into the applications. And so most of the other providers, and most everyone, will partner with a VPN provider or a hardware security provider to fill in their gaps. But they're always a wraparound solution, a Band-Aid to what the real problem is, and what we feel is that applications need to be secured by design. They need to be designed so they are not broken into. They need to be isolated so that it is impossible to actually hack into the device or hack into the plant. And, for that particular reason, our solution is secured by design. We don't require another hardware vendor. We don't require VPNs. We don't require proxy servers. We don't require all of the other things. We just make it secure.
Does that change? So if you're building the security right into the application, does that how does that impact the application itself? Because the application isn't designed to be a security application.
It's not designed to be a security application. It's designed to meet the needs of connecting a device. But security, because it's part of the design, solves the Band-Aid situation. And so it does require people to think differently. Historically in this market, when they're connecting two remote facilities, they believe that they need to have network access to those facilities to actually get the data, when in reality they don't. What they need is a solution that can get the data from point A to point B without exposing an internet attack surface. So if you can design your application to do that, then you don't require a Band-Aid of security.
So why is security, and certainly this isn't restricted to the Internet of Things applications. I mean, this is a conversation that's been taking place for a long time.
Right.
But why is security, as you say, so often an afterthought, and why isn't it sort of baked into the application from the get-go?
Because most people rely on current security protocols or current network protocols to do connectivity. And you have to think outside of the box if you want to solve a problem. And in fact, we're seeing some of the vendors here, even from a security standpoint, have started to think outside of the box. But truthfully, what it really comes down to is it's a different way of looking at things. And so if you start with security in your application design, then you will end with a secure solution. If you start with the concept that you need to have network access, then you will add security afterwards.
How can you ensure that you're not exposing any part of your application or your data to breaches?
Right. There's there's standard security in terms of using SSL or TLS to encrypt your data. But when it comes to preventing an attack surface or preventing being hacked, what it really comes down to is not having any open ports on a firewall. It's that simple. If you have no ports open on a firewall, then what can you attack? Because you can't see it. So ultimately, if you can design your application so they have pure isolation between point A and point B, then you're secure. Because there is nothing to attack, there's nothing exposed.
Does that interfere with the performance of other applications that may be running on your network?
Well, again, we come back to the fact we solve a particular problem.
Okay.
We're not working with networking protocols. What we're working with is getting data from point A to point B securely and bidirectionally, so that you do have supervisory and control if you want it. So
you're solving a particular problem for a particular environment or particular use case.
Correct.
For whom?
Well, we deal with all industrial control systems. So in essence, from oil pipelines to electric grids to wind towers to solar farms to manufacturing, we have the ability to network the data from any remote facility, be it one sensor or 1,000, or from one plant to another, without ever exposing a network connection between the two.
So these sound like applications, like market segments that don't necessarily have a need for some of the reasons to expose your firewall.
Actually, ironically enough, today, all plants are exposed to the internet. In fact, they all have internet connectivity and they all push data out to some repository. So, in fact, they're all vulnerable today when they allow for a bidirectional communication. And in fact, if you were to actually run a poll of all of the manufacturing plants out there, you'll see that, in fact, they all have connectivity. And so the net result is they're all exposed. A great example was in Germany, and I don't recall the exact client, but in Germany there was a steel mill that was breached. And you'd say, well, how critical is a steel mill, right? Well, it actually caused thousands of dollars in damage because the furnace didn't shut down properly. Somebody had breached the plant. We don't know why, but they breached it. They shut down the plant when they shouldn't have. The net result is that it costs thousands of dollars of damage. And we're seeing this in the last year alone. I've counted over 100 breaches of plants or systems because they are connected. But their layers of security have allowed people to get in. My simple rule to anyone is, if you have an open port on your firewall, it will be breached, or it will be used to breach your other plants. It's that simple.
How easy or difficult, for that matter, is it for you to convince people that they've got this problem and that they should look at a resolution differently?
It's a challenge. It is a challenge because in industrial control, all industrial control systems are based on polling. And so they believe that in order to get the information from the device, they have to poll the device, when in fact they really don't. So it's a different way of looking at things. And with all new technologies, it's always a different way of looking at things.
Understood.
Yes.
Xavier, thank you so much for being on the program today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.